Today is Monday, August 18th, 2025. Time is 5:30 on the floor. Madison Parish Training Center, 600 Bayou Drive, Tallulah. I'm filling in for Reverend Fountain in his absence. And at this time, the board will conduct the following business as well as any other items properly added to the agenda. So at this moment, we'll have a moment of silent prayer, and then we'll do the pledge. Will you please stand for this? Now, they'll be just going to be so I'm going to go all the way. Attention, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is roll call board members. District 1. District 2, present. District 3, absent. District 4, present. District 5, present. District 6, present. District 7, absent. And District 8, present. At this time, we would like to adopt our agenda. Is there anything we need to add, change, or look at the agenda?
Make the motion to be adopted in as presented.
Okay. Ready for, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Y'all bear with me, first time to do it. Okay. Next on our agenda is to approve the bills for payments. Is there any discussion from the board about the bills?
I make a motion that we approve bills for payment.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, approve the minutes of the regular board meeting, July 21st, 2025. That was in your packets. Is there any discussion from the board for our July 21st meeting?
Approve the minutes for the regular board meeting on July 21st.
It's been, I guess I can say that. It has been, motion for Ms. Kathy to approve the minutes and second by Mr. Patterson to approve the minutes. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item D, received report of Finance Committee, and I don't know if we're doing Ms. Debbie or Mr. Tim, but we're ready to receive the report from the Finance Committee.
We have for you tonight an updated financial report from our finance committee meeting that we had last week. I'll let you get them all, and we'll kind of go over it. The first page just gives you the account balances, and these have not changed since August 13th. So this was as of August 13th. This was our balances. I'll note to you the general fund was $331,162, and the payroll fund was $156,448.63. On page 2, you'll see a grant update. It says in the first column, these These are items that have been spent but have not been requested. These grants have to have the super app approved, the grants approved with the budgets to be able to make those requests. Of course, as you know, those salaries keep growing. So at this point, until we get that super app approved, we can't request these dollars in that first column. However, in the second column, am I too loud? No. In the second column, 21st Century had a couple of bills that had to be paid, so that money has already been requested. It was 2 bills, we made a request just for those 2 items, so that would give us a quick turnaround. So those items have been requested. The next page is the outstanding invoices that we currently have. This reflects what we know that we have. We've got teachers' retirement summer remaining at $255,000. We've got general fund and grants fund August summer salaries, which are coming up. General fund is $698,436, and the other funds $256,164. We have to reimburse the school lunch fund for $25,000 as per the agreement, which I believe you're going to ratify later on in the agenda. Also, we have the monthly insurance payment for property, casualty, etc. That's $63,848.64. And then also, when the 21st Century grant was written, and I need to get a contract, copy of the contract, Dr. Butler, whenever you get a chance, we need to try to get a copy of that. But we had a portion of it, and the agreement for the grant is that the grant writer gets approximately $90,000 per year for writing the grant. Now, the grant's in excess of $1.3 million, but that is quite a large percentage. But technically, those dollars have been approved at the federal level, but they have not come down to us yet. So that's not owed until they do come down, but at that time, that would be another invoice that would be coming. Then we had the 2 things that I was talking about in 21st Century, the $112,050 and the $52,082, which is what makes up that $170,000. We had another invoice for $10,000 for Century, 21st Century. Then we've got some Star Services invoices. You'll see out beside them what the date was on those invoices. And as I understand, this is a company that you pay a monthly fee to for energy type services, repairs, maintenance, etc. But actually, when you look back in the history, the June invoice was paid, but these other invoices have not been paid. Then we have some miscellaneous, that's some smaller things added together. For general fund, it was $1,344, and then for the grant, $7,300. And then some utilities, waste, etc. for general fund, $4,433, and other funds was $65,387. Now, in addition to that, I have updated the cash flow sheet, which is your next sheet, which basically the expenditure portion is what I've just went over, okay, that sheet that we just had. But the receipts, of course, currently on that first page, we noted that there was $331,163 in the master bank. The expected cash receipts, through August 31st for MFP, $684, grant revenue, $170,000, and cash in the Kennesaw State Bank, approximately $328,619, which we're going to discuss later on the agenda too, which gives us a total expected available money of $1,513,782. Then we reduce that number by the amount of the total bills to be paid that we just discussed, and you can see where we have a deficit of $202,000. And there could be, there could be other invoices out there. We're kind of finding that as each day rolls around, and we've got right there. So that's the financial report. If y'all have any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
What about, the payroll? Are we still paying people that we need to live?
Well, we do have a payroll coming up that we do have concerns about, but that's what we're going to discuss yet into the CDs tonight. So,
And all people be notified that will be let go due to RIF?
there have been quite a few that Dr. Butler notified. We do have a considerable reduction in salaries. I still believe we've got a ways to go, but we got to kind of still drill down into some things like benefits. As y'all know, benefits are a huge piece of that puzzle with employees, so we've got to identify the benefits for each of those. And then we'll be coming back to you with a budget, which we'll talk about more in depth about those dollars.
I know school is starting. Do we have a student count? Is it down?
From what I understand, it is down a small amount. I've asked a couple of times, but I think the numbers keep shifting a little bit. Dr. Butler could address that better than I could.
Yes, still early. Numbers shift up and down each day. Some people coming in, not coming in. So we won't have a real good count until closer to September. Normally the first 2 weeks are always, like that.
Well, school has started though, hasn't it?
Yes, school started August 11th.
Any other questions?
Are there any comments from the public? Thank you, Ms. Debbie, for your presentation. Appreciate it. Next board item is to discuss the millage taxes and roll forward options.
Y'all, I'm not trying to bombard you with paper, but I really want to be sure y'all understand what we're dealing with, what we're looking at. And that's the only way I really know how to explain it to you, so be sure you can see it and be able to ask me questions about it.
We appreciate your clarity. Thank you.
Okay. Millage taxes and roll forward options. You can see here, this is the legislative auditor's handbook on rolling forward or any other things with your millage rates. There's a specific process that has to be followed anytime you do any of those things, particularly roll forwards. If you'll look at actually the second page, and this is just a piece of this handbook. And what I did is I went in and I pulled out the items that were related to roll forwards, okay? So on page 2, kind of starts out giving you some definitions, but on page 2, it specifically talks about roll forwards, and it says increasing the millage rate after assessment from the adjusted maximum millage rate to a rate not in excess of the prior year's maximum. Roll forward only occurs when the taxable property value increases at reassessment. Now, the assessor told me that in the entire parish, all of the taxing bodies rolled forward last year, except the school board and the city. So you can still roll forward this year. Now, a little bit of a setback with that is at this time, the assessor hasn't received the utilities portion of their assessment yet. They're waiting on that. So I can't tell you how many dollars you'll get in excess of what you've been getting if that happens, but as soon as I get that, they're gonna let me know. Typically, this would already be done, but I checked with the legislative auditor's office, Jennifer Shea, that is over that part of the program, and she said as far as the Louisiana legislative auditor's office is concerned, we have plenty of time. The assessor sets the time frame, and I spoke to Ms. Wynn in his office, and she said she felt like it would be fine, particularly since they don't have all their numbers yet. But as you can see on the next few pages, there are very specific things that you have to do when you do a roll forward. You have requirements for advertising, 2 advertisements within 30 days, minimum of the actual vote of the board. You also, the second advertisement, not only you advertise in your local paper, but you have to advertise in a paper with a larger circulation. So there's a lot of hoops to jump through. They even give you specifics about the size of the ad in the newspaper. So it's very specific, but they'll walk us through it when it comes that time. They'll give us the numbers, and I'll relay that to y'all as soon as we get them. Tonight, I just wanted to make y'all aware of the possibility, so you could be considering that possibility going forward. And I'll update you as we go along.
Are there any comments, questions from the board? And one thing, you can take this document home and have more time to read it, because she will be bringing it back. And then if we have more questions at that time, we can ask questions then, because this is a lot of legal stuff. Are there any comments from the public? So the next item of the discussion is the budget advertisement and the budget hearing date.
And of course, we need to adopt a budget for the 25-26 school year, which has to be adopted by September 15th. Well, it just so happens that you have a board meeting on that day. There are other requirements for adopting a budget. I'm not sure that this has been done before, but the law is very, very, very specific on what has to happen. You have to have a budget hearing before you adopt it. You have to advertise 3 times in the local paper, telling people that they can come and preview the budget. So you've got the ads, you'll see the dates that it'll be published in the paper. Then we've got to put this notice that you read right here has to be in the paper. And you'll note that the budget hearing has to be open as a budget hearing, like you do a board meeting, but it's for a budget hearing. Doesn't have to be long. I just put it 15 minutes because you're going to be looking at the budget beforehand. You're going to have an opportunity to come look at it. You're going to have an opportunity to talk to me before we get here. And unless there's a lot of public questions, which they can come to those same things, then we can get through it pretty quickly at that point.
And it must be a quorum for this.
It must be a quorum for the budget hearing, yes. In fact, if it's not a budget, if it's not a quorum that night, we can't meet the deadline. So you have to have a quorum. It's for 5:15 before the board meeting at 5:30. We'll dismiss the budget hearing at 5:30 and then convene the board meeting. Okay? Y'all have any questions about that? Let me go ahead also and tell you that the budget this year, and we talked about it briefly in finance committee meeting. Typically, when I do a budget, I start with known numbers, and I fill them in, and I match them up to our revenues, and typically that's not that far off. This year, because we're facing what we are, I'm going to have to ask y'all to adopt a budget that is within the amount of revenue. I'm going to take the amount of revenue we feel totally comfortable with what we're going to get. We know what we're going to get in MFP at least through March, unless we have a huge drop in our student count. But we're going to have to match the expenditures to not be a deficit within those revenues. So that's where we'll start, because law says we have to. And then we'll look at it in detail as we go along. If we need to do a budget revision, We'll do a revision, we'll make changes according to what we need to do from that point forward. But there's really no other way to do it in this instance. So, I don't know, I may have some questions about that.
The only thing I had to say is I'm glad that you're here.
Okay, I'm gonna try to do my absolute best for y'all, as we go along.
Are there any comments from the public about the budget hearing or anything like that along those lines? Okay, I think we're good, and I'll send out a reminder about when we'll be here our meeting that day. Okay, item G is adopt a resolution to authorize the withdrawal of specific certificates of deposit from Tinsall State Bank. And board members, this will be a roll call item because we will be considering cash minutes and CDs.
As y'all know, we've looked at this several times, and it seems like Tinsall Bank needed a few clarifications and specifics. So we've gone forward and prepared a motion like they have required that we do. Does their specifications. We're only wanting to include 2 CDs in this currently. The first CD is 170216, which is the first one on the list above, in the amount of $112,327.19. The second one is CD number 167290, which is actually the very bottom one. And it's in the amount of $201,867.15. There will be early withdrawal penalties on each of them. The first one will be $900 of early withdrawal penalties. The second one will be $1,618 of early withdrawal penalties.
Making a check there, when we're talking with the bank, that's the 90-day penalty, is basically what they're charging as far as the interest or the penalty. However, you do, if you're in it a month, they do sort of give you credit for that 1 month of interest earned. So, in effect, like this one that's dated July the 18th, will be, we've now gone a month, so we will earn a month of interest and to offset the 3 months that they were charged as a penalty. So, on that one, you'll wind up paying a 2-month penalty for it from now to. So they do give you credit for however long you're in it, and then they charge you for 3 months of that. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Is that what we use?
Are there any questions or comments from the board about withdrawing the CDs? And I'm assuming this is to cover payroll.
Correct. And those items that are listed on that sheet that I provided to you.
Are there any comments from the public? Is there a motion from the board?
Make a motion that we catch the CDs. Second.
Ms. Paula Hamilton made a motion to cash the CDs needed to cover our expenditures for this month, and it was seconded by Ms. Hargrave. This is a roll call vote.
Madam President,
Oh,
this,
sorry.
the bank is really restricting, so, Ms. Hamilton, by doing so, you have moved that we adopt this resolution too, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just don't want us to have to come back and say that our motion wasn't technical enough.
Okay.
So,
I make a motion that we adopt the resolution. So, I'm second.
So Ms. Paula Hamilton made a motion to adopt the resolution for withdrawing certificates, and Ms. Hargrave seconded adopting the resolution to regarding withdrawing certificates, CDs, certificates of deposit. This is a roll call item. District 1,
Yes.
District 2, yes. District 3, absent. District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yes.
and District 7 is absent. District 8.
Yes.
So the total is 6 yeses and 2 board members are absent. Motion carried. Item H, consider to approve the student handbook for 2025-2026. Dr. Handbook.
Yes, consider to approve the student handbook 2025, 2026 each year. The handbook must be updated.
Board members, you received the handbook via email from Mr. Tallulah. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the handbook, student handbook? Is there any comments from the public about the student handbook?
Yes, were there any major changes that we should know about?
I don't recall any, but we do have Dr. Matt in the back. She's the chairman of the handbook committee.
Good evening. We do not have any major changes, but we did after we went through the book, this summer. We looked at some words that we use, like expulsion. We do not expel students. So we took the word expulsion out and put extended and put. It's at the bottom.
Yes.
We changed some of the words. For example, we said in the handbook, it had the word expel. We do not expel students from the district, but we do extended suspension. And that's the difference between suspension and being expelled. And if you look, there was a definition for the word expulsion, and we just, on the computer it shows that it's in green, but the changes are made in the red writing that you saw when we did some strikeouts.
I got a question, Dr. Pittman. Dr. Matt.
Yeah,
If a student, let's just say, a student happened to bring a weapon to school, is that still exposure?
it's extended suspension unless the law, if they brought a gun to school, I would have to go and look at that, but we did address the possession of weapons on campus. And again, we have not been expelling students, we've been giving them extended suspension, which may be a semester. It may be half a semester, maybe 2 semesters. So since we're not using the word, then leaving it in the handbook didn't make sense to us. So we were trying to go through and make sure that the language that we used was appropriate.
If they had extended, if they had extended suspension for, I'm giving a period of time, they have so many days after attend school over,
Yes,
so they don't pass. If they've got over that number of days in their suspension, is that correct?
that's according to attendance, and we have a pupil progression plan that will address that. And I don't have a copy of that, but we have met and gone over that with the pupil progression plan about.
Yes, and also,
They have to attend class at a certain number of hours in a year.
Yes,
They don't
they do.
in class,
They
a certain
do.
number of hours they don't pass.
Yes,
Yeah, and also depending on if they're suspended to virtual or impact. So they still receive their instruction with those two suspensions.
Are there any other comments from the public?
You do have, Mr. John would like to review it, firsthand before going to approval.
I appreciate all the hard work that the committee did, and it's very progressive for you to be aware of that distinction between expulsion and suspension. There's certain areas though that with the change in this legislative session that we may have to use the word expulsion. So I just want to read it and make sure that we've got that in there. And so I can have that back to you at your next meeting.
So the motion would table it? Is that the word?
Table implies that it's going to be laid down for a while. I'd suggest that it be considered at the board's next meeting. Madam President, I move that we, defer this into our next meeting. I believe would be the appropriate.
Because we have policies we need to vote on
Correct.
that weren't present when it was made. Was there a motion from the board?
I move that we, consider to approve the student handbook next meeting.
So there's been a motion made to revisit the handbook in September and look at it then for approval. Is there a second? It's been a first motion done by Ms. Hargrave to move the handbook to September meeting, seconded by Mr. Wilson. All board members in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move it to the September meeting. Item J is to consider to approve the pupil progression plan for 25-26.
Consider to approve the pupil progression plan 2025-26. Ms. Appledale is committee chair of that one. I spoke with her today. She said there weren't any major changes.
So I know the pupil progression has to be turned into the state. Have they already received it and accepted it?
That's when it has to be turned into the state.
What's the deadline for that?
Normally it's September 30th.
Do you think it would behoove us to move it also to September for the new policies that we're going on? We've had some here in a minute, Mr. Geis.
Whatever the pleasure of the board. Usually the pupil progression plans don't change that much from year to year. I defer to the superintendent as to whether there are any changes this year.
What do you think? We can go forward?
Yeah, we can go forward. Like I mentioned, she's been over the progression plan the last few years, and she said no major changes.
Okay, are there any questions from the board, comments? Any comments from the public? Do we have a motion on this?
So you're saying all things changed in your opinion?
Yes.
I move that we approve the pupil progression plan for the year 2025-26.
Second.
Ms. Hargrave has made a motion to approve the pupil progression plan for 25-26, and it has been seconded by Mr. Wilson. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to receive and consider board policy updates, and these are going to be the ones that, in your handouts from the 22, 23, and 24. And, we're gonna fast track these, we're going to approve them and get them to CAPS, and we're going to, vote to receive them and approve them if the board pleases to. Is there any questions about the 22 through 24 policies? One of the things the company of Forethought has done is, because the policies build upon themselves, so they've gone in there and taken the time to make sure if there was a policy that was updated in 2024, it picked up the 23 and the 22. So when you're looking at a 24, it's gotten all the years past. So it's been a thorough, that they pulled them all along through the years. And you have a list in your packet of just the titles. Mr. Tallulah and I, we decided it was like over 500 pages, and I sent y'all a text that it was in your email. That was a lot of paper. Any questions or comments from the public?
Yeah, are there any major changes that the public should know about?
These are the legislative updates and policies that the legislators have voted on from the state, and this company that we use, Forethought, they take those legislative updates and they create school policy, and then we adopt it. Now, as far as any major updates, I don't know if anything's major updates.
Yeah, each year the legislature changes certain subtle things. Over the last several years have been slight changes in the ethics provisions. There have been changes in student discipline laws. Those are some examples of those changes. The policies that the board adopts tonight will be uploaded onto the website, and they're accessible under a program called CAPS, which is a computer-assisted program. Very easy to use. You can search them, and so I think you'll find that very beneficial.
Okay, and when will it be uploaded?
The board approves them. They send notice back to Forethought that they have been approved, and then it's on Forethought, it's on their clock as to when they get those to us to get uploaded. So I think 45 days would be a reasonable estimate.
Any more comments? Do we have a motion?
Motion to receive and consider the board policy updates.
Ms. Kathy Beltry has made a motion to receive and consider the board policy updates, and Mr. Ricky Paxton has seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, item K is receive policies from Forethought from the 25 legislative session. This is the most recent session, so we're catching up. We were behind, so we're catching up. So the proper procedure is that we receive today. We're going to receive the 2025 policies from Forethought from the legislative. You will have time to look over those, and then on September we will come back and we will make a consideration for the 2025 policy updates. So hopefully, we'll be getting all of our policies updated for our administrators and everybody in the public when they pick all our policies. It will be the most current legislative decisions from our state governments. So you've received the policies for the 25 legislative session. Are there any questions from the board? there any comments from the public? And board, as you read, if you read through these upcoming ones that we'll vote on next month, just reach out for a question. Of course, I don't know, what it's about, we'll seek guidance on what these new policies are. Moving on to item L, we're going to consider policies and procedures for out-of-state travel. One of the recommendations coming from Mr. Tim Green was to cease the travel to save on expenses, and Ms. Kathy has some ideas.
Well, there's no ideas, I just want to see if they be more clear of what and who and when could, that can go out and travel for conferences and stuff. I think it needs to be more detailed, we cut it out completely for every conference or for certain ones. I just a little more clarity on it.
I think what the plan is to not allow any out-of-state travel. And local travel within the state, there's conferences that people need to go to be sure they know what the state expects, so they can follow those guidelines, et cetera, et cetera. So there would have to be some state travel for the parish to stay up to date on what they need to be up to date on. But it really needs to go through an approval process early on, not last minute, so there should be deadline set about when you request it, and then it would be limited to people not being able to have a lot of trips. They would need to just, I guess, we can work together to come up with something like that. But the main thing is no out-of-state travel.
So would it be a good thing for the district to create concrete policy of
Absolutely.
the procedure and protocol that would be brought back to the board for us to vote on, early permission, and you have to have your paperwork, and, funding source needs to be on there, and also having is allowed. Like, a lot of times the state will, says you must send, but then not send extras.
Right.
And have those must-send people come back until teacher whole group.
Right, and it's always something that can be looked at later, once we get finances in better shape. It's just gonna take a little while, and, that's really the only way to do that. Grants, a lot of times, it's kind of like, it's a little bit of a free rein, because the grants will approve them, but at the same time, those grants can pay the costs for other educational activities, and for this year particularly, the out-of-state needs to be, in our opinion, stopped.
Well, and that's why we wanted to address it, because that was a recommendation, and we're in the board, we want to do all the recommendations to create financial soundness for the district. So I am very aware that there are requirements that superintendent and principals and supervisors that they must go for their job to do the best for the students in Madison Parish. So, I am not, it's whatever the board wants to do, as far as asking for permission to do every little thing. There are job requirements that must be on.
There's I think the current policy about what you do coming in to request, which is need to be some timelines put in place, and, some limits probably. But we could come up with something and bring it back to you for your approval next month.
Okay, I will put that in September, so, timelines. For state travel. And update policy. Are there any questions from the board, anything you'd like us to look at to improve that policy? Because one of our employees that have the platitudes to do what they gotta do to do the job, but the out-of-state travels to the national conferences and stuff are very costly, and, we need to ensure that. So, that was the recommendation, is the out-of-state. Do we need to make
be more parameters before the board finally adopts it? Or do you recommend just a general statement of no out of? What is your recommendation?
Well, as far as out of state, I don't know that there needs to be any parameters. I think that would be pretty cut and dried.
Okay.
No out of state travel for the year 25-26, and then we can address it again later. As far as the other, we definitely need parameters.
I would recommend adopting a no out-of-state policy, provided that any exception can come before the board. That's a given, but, there may be exceptional circumstances that need to come before the board. I just want to make sure the board's aware that in such a situation, it can be brought back, subject to the recommendation of your financial agent.
So is there a motion from the board about
I
state out of
move
state
that
travel?
we do not have any out-of-state travel as of now until our financial is better.
So the Sergeant made the motion that, yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So is this out-of-state travel for, I do 21st century, Ms. Nicholas? And so in February, we have an out-of-state conference. Will this affect me?
It would affect everyone.
So I have a conference, but 21st century pays for my travel and it's mandatory.
This would eliminate all out-of-state travel.
So that's why I'm bringing it up.
It's hard to say that one can and one can't. What I would suggest is you do what John mentioned, that it could be brought to the board for any exception, and then we'll drill down to see exact details, what it's all about, and the board can decide from there.
When is your trip? February.
But you just said, no, that's what I'm saying.
Right, well, and that's what we were saying, we're gonna have to take it case by case to see the exceptionalities of that case. And, what would be individual approval for certain
I think
things.
the reason is too, that if we, don't do this, all grant pay things, you got to pay for it first, and then you get reimbursed for that. We don't have the money to pay for it first.
But it's coming out of their money.
Right,
But
but
it still flows,
Okay.
I know it's coming out of their money, but it's a grant, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
But just to share and piggyback, so with 21st century, so those travels are already normally brought before the board for approval first, but with accepting that money, there are certain, trips that they list as mandatory for that person, and sometimes one other person, and sometimes it's just that 21st century director as well, but she always.
What I'm gonna bring up is that we as a district have to pay for those expenses as they occur. Then you have to get reimbursed for that.
That's true, but she is able to do a requisition upfront to pay for hers upfront.
Folks, I think we're beating a dead horse. I think, as Debbie mentioned, we say no travel, but if there are extenuating circumstances like have been referenced, they come to the board on a case-by-case basis. And so, I think that will.
We will have Debbie's approval first to make sure that we can, pay for that.
So the motion would be no out-of-state travel
Unless approved.
unless approved by the,
CPA and the board.
would it be the CPA or the board?
It'd be unless approved by the fiscal agent and the board as necessary.
Yeah. Okay, so the motion will be no out-of-state travel unless it's been approved by the fiscal agent and the board.
Correct.
Is that your motion, Ms. Margrave?
Ms. Hargrove. Ms. Hargrove.
You okay with that, Ms. Harper?
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Okay, and Mrs. Hamilton seconded. Any other comments about it? Is that good? Is that good for everyone, okay? 21st century, okay. what's the board's, I lost my train of thought. So what will be the vote, so we've got the motions now, we just need to vote. All in favor of accepting and canceling all out-of-state travel unless it's been approved by the CPA and the, fiscal, agent and the board?
Yes.
Sure. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Y'all just bear with me, sorry there's confusion on that. And then I have on my list for September that we'll come back and look for the parameters to tighten up our procedures to make sure we're following all, necessary bits of information that's, in-state travel done. M is to declare items as surplus and authorize for sale.
There's a list that's been, presented to you, that's in front of you. And if you have any questions, we do have Ms. Georgette here.
Are there any questions from the board about the, items on the surplus list? Now, these air conditioners, are they the new air conditioners, Ms. Georgette, or they old ones?
Those are some old ones, that have been in the building for about 6-7 years.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I
That
didn't
was
mean
my question.
to run away.
Table, but that was my question.
You need a copy, Ms. Andre?
I have one. I have one. I was asking about those air conditioning units. I know you can't surplus new equipment.
We didn't put those on here.
Okay.
They're not on here. These are old ones. That's on here now.
Are there any questions from the, comments from the public? Is there a motion from the board? Is there a motion to be put on the? We have a motion to declare items as surplus and authorize for sale by Mr. Patterson. Is there a second?
Has this been advertised?
It has not, no ma'am.
I think we have to vote, right, Ms. Georgette, then it's advertised. So I don't know who said second first.
I'll jump, Jeff.
Well, it's Jeff. The second is, goes to Mr. Wilson. All in favor of placing these items on the surplus list, getting them ready for advertisement for sale? All in favor? And any opposed? Okay, item N is to ratify the payment plan of the child nutrition program. This was emailed to us, so it was in your email, and I will let Dr. Butler, refresh our memory on that one.
Yeah, ratify the payment. It was 25,000, correct, Tim? 25,000
Yes, per month,
per month.
for the 12 months, we were gonna try to get it repaid over 24 months, and we were gonna pay 25,000 a month. It's gonna require a little bit extra when the ad valorem taxes come in January and February, and we'll pay out a bit of whatever's necessary to, make up the total amount that's owed on it, the 875,000.
Yes, and that was approved, for the state, and that's the, forward.
this will be a ratification vote to, just document that we are aware of the repayment program that has been, submitted to the state and their approval for us to get the money put back in the child nutrition, plan, and, we just need to make a motion to ratify this plan of repayment. Is there any questions from the board? Any public comment? Is there a motion from the board?
I move that we, pay the $25,000 monthly to the child nutrition program to try to satisfy the debt we owe.
Second.
Ms. Hargraves made a motion to ratify the payment claim to the child nutrition program with Ms. Kathy seconding. All in favor? And all opposed? The motion passes.
I would like to bring this up about that. I knew nothing about that as a board member, that was involved in it. That's wrong. We should have known about that before it was involved in it. That's my thought on that. We almost broke the nutrition program. And I say we, I didn't know about it. I hope that doesn't happen again.
I agree. Letter O, consider approval of the updated job description for business manager in 21st century, /CIS, removing the CIS, job duties over to the 21st century director and taking it off the business manager. You should have, there was a copy passed out for the business manager job description, and then you had the, 21st century job description that was in the packet online.
Has this been advertised for?
We have people hired in that, I'll let Dr. Butler talk about it.
Yeah, those have been advertised, we have to approve them, first. We do have, people in those positions. Miss Velvet is the business manager, and the young lady who just, stood up, she's our 21st century director. Right now, she's getting extra stipend for doing the assist, so once we put that on there, it will be part of her, her salary.
And this is a measure to help us in savings because of our financial situation. And it's gonna be a lot more of that to come, I'm afraid. Any discussion, any more comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
I have two questions. What does SIS stand for? And then can you explain what the 21st century is?
The SIS is Student Information System. They just help keep count of all the students, in our district and certain parameters they have. 21st Century, that's a grant that, we received, I think it's 1.2 million a year. That's for extra services that goes towards our kids, for example, tutorials, pays for, it's paid out of 21st Century. And we do have, her here, if you want to speak a little bit more on it.
So you basically covered what it does. It's a grant that we get, and we service children after school for, after school tutorials, STEM projects. This summer they did flying classroom, they did Lego, so there's different things that 21st Century helped for, items that's throughout the district, to support the district. One of the grants that help support.
Cool.
To stop.
We have that grant up until 2027, correct?
I'm sorry?
That grant is good for until 2027?
Correct.
And it's a federally funded program.
And we've had it for years, probably about 13 plus years.
motion on the board to accept these two job description changes?
I move that we accept the two job descriptions, for business manager and 21st century director with SIS included.
It's been motioned by Ms. Hargrave to consider approval for the updated job description for business manager and the 21st century director, including the SIS program, and it's been seconded by, Mr. Patterson. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B is to consider executive session pursuant to Louisiana RS 4217 to discuss the superintendent's evaluation and to discuss the potential legal matter involving appointment of fiscal administrator pursuant to Louisiana RS. Is there a motion from the board to go into executive session?
I move that we go into executive session.
Ms. Hargrave has moved that we're gonna enter into executive session, seconded by, Mr. Wilson. This is a roll call item. District 1,
Yeah.
District 2, yes. District 3 is absent. District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6, District 7 is absent, and District 8.
Yes.
There are six yeses with 2 board members that are absent. So we'll be entering into executive session.